And Joe Spadotti, Joe Shasky on the Morning Rush. What's going on, man?
I am up to the challenge.
Hey, what's going on with this Shohei story? What was your reaction when you saw this yesterday, David? Because we've been talking about it all show. There is so many layers to tackle here. I just want to know your reaction to when the Dodgers fired Shohei Ohtani's interpreter amid allegation of massive theft.
Well, the first thing I did is I wiped my eyes because I figured there's no way I must be misreading the headline, because Shohei's interpreter has been with him since he was with the Angels and even earlier than that. There's no way that the interpreter stole from Shohei. There's so much respect that you have for your player when you're an interpreter. I know Ichiro's interpreter so well. It was out of the realm of possibility. So I read the article and then kept reading and then realized, oh no, it may even be worse than that. It may not be theft. It may be that Ohtani's involved in gambling. Oh God, how can this be? So I kept reading, and then that was denied. So now, what do we know? The interpreter has been fired by the Dodgers. That's confirmed. Ohtani gave money, wired money to a bookie. That's confirmed. Ohtani did not gamble. We don't know whether that's confirmed, but that is certainly what is being told to people currently. We do know the interpreter gambled, but not on baseball. But we don't even know that for sure. So there's so many layers of this that still have to be investigated, and believe me, they will be by media outlets around the world, because this is such a big story, because it involves gambling and it involves the face of baseball. So you may have talked about it a lot today, but I have a feeling you're going to have a lot more days in front of you.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And, you know, the reason why I really enjoy your podcast and all your contributions on the Levitard Network is you give us an owner's, front office perspective and a business perspective, which is so lacking. I feel like so many members of the media don't understand the financing and the business of all of these sports. And it's always about the money. It's always about the money. And this, all of these podcast companies, yours included, us here, we're dying for the state of California to, be able to have legalized gambling, because we all want to grasp at the DraftKings money, at the gambling money, the BetMGM money. The leagues are grasping at it. They're trying to move the A's there currently, and I know you have thoughts on that. This is a slippery slope. So I guess the question that I'm coming at is, why do the BetGMs of the world, the DraftKings, all of them, why do they need to make sure things are on the up and up if they want to partner with these leagues? Is it the integrity alone? Because there has to be rules and regulations with all of this, but they still want to grasp at that money.
Well, listen, let me put in a different frame for you.
Yeah, please.
I am very okay doing business with alcohol companies. I just don't want there to be alcoholics for people who drink and drive. I'm very okay doing business with gambling companies. I want people to gamble responsibly with money they have, with money that they use for entertainment, with money that they are willing to risk, because when you gamble, you can win or you can lose. I don't want that to be somebody's vocation, where they are trying, where if they lose their home, or they lose their marriage, or they lose their life, God forbid. So there are so many things. I am okay being sponsored by car companies, yet I don't like car crashes. So there are negatives that come with any category. Gambling is just a category where the negative could involve the actual result of the game that we crave to be the chance of neutrality. We want our team to have a chance to win, because otherwise we're watching wrestling, for crying out loud, or we're watching a scripted television show, or we're watching Survivor. Just kidding. You never know who's going to win Survivor. I thought it would be me. So the point of having a sport where every fan has hope, you can't lose that. And anytime there's possibility where players could do something to impact a game, or referees or interpreters, believe me, there's going to be scrutiny.
Yeah. So, you know Rob Manfred and have worked with him for a long time. I think the general consensus is people think he's not good at his job, but I've come around on him in the sense that I think the adoption of the new rules and everything that's gone, I think the game's in a really good place. I really do. I think it's in a good place. There are some financial stuff. We'll get to that in a second, specifically when it comes to Boras in the league. But, do you trust Rob Manfred to be able to handle this appropriately?
He's got great people around him, and of course I trust him. There's nothing he hasn't seen before. Keep in mind, I'm trying to think of the last commissioner who had a high approval rating, or the last president of the United States who had a high approval rating, or the last anybody who has a high approval rating. Anytime you're a leader, it's what we do in the media. How many people criticize what you say every day or what I say every day? And I say to each of them, take a microphone and take a stand. Be a leader. Lead our country, or have an opinion on something other than just a criticism of it. So I think Rob is in a good position to handle this. The problem is we don't have any facts yet. We don't know what the heck's going on. So the first thing they have to do is get information. But because it's Shohei Ohtani, MLB came out and said, we're not investigating Shohei. Everything's okay here. There's nothing to see. But I think there is something to see. And we're going to have there will be an inquiry at some point because somebody's going to come up with more information and more facts about the flow of money here.
Talking to David Samson right now, former president of the Miami Marlins and current host of the Nothing Personal podcast. And David, listen, Rob Manfred, Joe just said that the league, I think, is at a very good place with all the changes, the pitch clock,
young
what have you.
Superstars.
That may be. I'm an Oakland A's fan. I'm a little biased with this. I think the way he has handled this entire situation has been horrible. That's obviously the owners as well, John Fisher, Dave Cavill, the president, all that. I think this entire situation has been a clown show. I think today the sports gambling thing with the league's face in Shohei Ohtani potentially having a scandal with that, while the team and a franchise is trying to move to Las Vegas, I think it's hilarious. What have your impressions been of the A's and their move to Las Vegas, John Fisher, Rob Manfred, all of that, and how it's played out so far?
It's really hard to satisfy a fan base that's losing a team.
Correct.
So I'm not sure.
I'm pretty numb to it. I'm pretty numb to it all, to be honest with you. Yeah. So I'm just cynical about it. The entire thing now. I've come to the realization that they're going. So.
Listen, I don't blame you. It's been more downs than ups, so there have been some great ups in the life of the A's. What really the problem has been the clumsiness of the announcement of Vegas. Imagine your mentality as an Oakland A's fan. It would be hurtful. You'd be despondent, but then you could process it if the announcement had been this. Ladies and gentlemen, here's our stadium in Las Vegas. We have opened an office. We're selling tickets. We're opening in 28. For the next 3 years, we're going to be playing in Sacramento. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. Here's our sponsor. Here's who's building the stadium. We're really excited to become a part of the community in Las Vegas. I would like to say, before we leave Oakland, thank you to the fans. I'm sorry that it didn't work out. You never know what the future is. That said, we will always have the championships that we won and the playoff moments that we had. Imagine if that had been the message. Isn't there a chance that you'd begin to feel better versus wait a minute, maybe Vegas isn't going to happen. Oh my God, they're so disorganized. This is absurd. They can't build on 9 acres. Oh my God, there's no renderings. Oh my God, Fisher's a terrible guy. All these things that you're doing are ways that are delaying your processing losing the team.
It's a great point because we had the Raiders, and I'm also a Raider fan, and they left the market. But you know what? The disdain and hatred is not the same at all. And I get it. The Raiders had moved to LA, so it's a little bit different. The NFL, there's only 17 games. They're trying to make it 18 games a season. A little bit different, a little bit easier to go to a game in Vegas just for a week or a weekend. I get that. But we like to give Mark Davis a lot of flack. I'm comparing him to John Fisher, and it's night and day, and Mark Davis looks like the greatest owner in the league. Like, it's that crazy.
Yeah, you've got glasses on right now, though. I think that, in 4 or 5
eye contacts, David. I don't wear glasses anymore.
You have to go back and sort of think about it. Listen, I tried to move the Marlins knowing that I could never move them and that we had to get a deal done in Miami, but I pretended we were moving, and it made me a villain, and there are people to this day who are hurt by that, and I get it. And I'm sorry for that. And I don't say it as robotically as it's collateral damage, but it is just business. As I say on my show, Nothing Personal. And John Fisher believes that he can make more money, and the league believes that they will be a more successful franchise in Vegas. I'm not sure I agree, by the way. I think you may be trading one problem for a different problem. But the gambling part of it, that doesn't even come into the decision-making process. All the leagues have already passed that. They've agreed that they are now in bed with gambling. They want their fans to gamble on the games, and they want gambling companies to support the league.
Yeah. It's fascinating, like the business of baseball, and it's other sports too, the NBA, and I know you've been detailing it quite well. Adam Silver trying to sell the NBA package to different streaming outlets, the collapse of the RSN really hurting baseball and basketball right now. And my normal co-host partner works for one of the RSNs locally, NBC Bay Area. And so, this is something that we've talked a lot about. And I'm looking at baseball right now, and it feels like there are two big financial things that are going down simultaneously. And I know that the labor agreement is going to be coming up here. You've got the whole Scott Boras and his free agents getting iced out and only getting pillow deals this offseason. And then you've got the RSN kind of what's happening with Amazon, what's happening with these RSNs, and if they can make payments. Is Major League Baseball going to take the streaming rights? It feels like the finance of baseball is going to be a huge topic all summer long. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right, but it's going to be more than just the summer, and this is impacting. It's not that Boris's guys took pillow deals. It's that Boras told his players that they would get a number that just wasn't going to happen, but Boras is normally bailed out by an owner now and then, if not every year, and this year no owners were willing to bail him out. And when you think about owners with long-term deals, they have expectations for certain amounts of revenue, and it used to be that your local TV deal was about as sure as the sunrise. But now that's totally changed for every team except the Dodgers. The Dodgers deal is set in stone, can't be changed. There'll be no bankruptcy at the upper level for the Dodgers regional network, so they're good to go. Every other team is concerned about what the future is. And if you're concerned about it, the best thing to do is not have long-term liabilities. And that's what contracts are. And you know that from your own life, with your own world of business. If you're not sure of your revenue, you better make sure you don't have too many fixed expenses. Variable expenses are okay because you can stop them. Fixed ones can bury you if you don't have revenue or income, and owners are being more careful now than they have been, and that will have an impact on player salaries going forward, and then that will be an issue in collective bargaining.
So you have been one of the people that has said, hey, Farhan's really bright. The front office for the Giants is really bright. But they're also coming in second place over and over and over and over again when it comes to Scott Boras. Did they get over on Scott Boras this time around? Because they got Matt Chapman, they got themselves Blake Snell, they added Jorge Soler. They added a very nice collection of free agents in the offseason. Jung-Hoo Lee is another guy that they took. It feels like they finally got one over on Boras, or am I reading it wrong?
No, they did. And don't forget the manager.
Oh, yeah, Bob Melvin.
That's a very important addition. I love Bob Melvin. He's really, really good inside a clubhouse and understanding the way 20-year-olds are and 40-year-olds. And he can manage up and down, which is so important for managers these days to deal with the front office and the clubhouse. Listen, if the Giants get it wrong and Blake Snell's a 5-and-dive guy who doesn't perform, or Soler is hurt and doesn't play well, their exposure is not that great. It's terrible this year. The players won't opt out if they stink. Here's the worst case scenario. The Giants don't win, but those players have bad years, which means they opt into the rest of the deal, so you're stuck with that money. If the Giants win this year and all the players disappear because they opt out, at least they will have won this year, and that's a good thing. So I get the one-year play that the Giants did. I also understand what the players are doing, betting on themselves, so to speak. You just don't want the players to have really good years and your team to have a bad year.
I'll leave you with this one, David. And David Samson has been very kind with us, former Miami Marlins president and host of the Nothing Personal podcast. You can find him on Dan Le Batard Show, amongst other platforms. David, can you explain to me what's going on with the Players Association right now? MLBPA is trying to oust the number 2 in command to Tony Clark. What's going on there, and is this important?
Oh, this is very, very important because the current collective bargaining agreement expires at the end of 26. And so negotiations sort of start now, believe it or not. And who's going to lead the negotiations on behalf of the players? And it used to be that Boras was running the union, and he had players on the executive council, and he was very influential with Tony Clark and the second in command, a guy named Bruce Meyer. And the question is there going to be a change of leadership? And the Athletic is reporting that there could be an effort to oust Tony Clark. And all I know is that from baseball standpoint, ownership, the commissioner, Bruce Meyer was very difficult to deal with, not in a good way, as opposed to other union leaders like Michael Weiner or even Donald Fear. Very difficult to deal with, but fair and smart. And I just don't think that that is the view they have of Bruce. And the funny part is that it didn't really help the players the way that they thought it would. So I think that a change could happen, but that will really be the end of Scott Boras' reign of power if there's a union change at the top.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. David, we appreciate the time as always, man. And
big fan. Thank you,
can't wait
David.
to catch you on your next podcast.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. That's David Samson right here on 95.7 The Game. You can find that entire interview by searching 95.7 The Game on YouTube or download the Odyssey app and favoriting 95.7 The Game.